The touch. My wife and I had our first marriage counseling session yesterday. This is not the first time either of us have been in marriage counseling, although previously it was with both of our now ex-spouses. After our session, she texted me and told me she felt she could not go through with it and felt like she couldn't change. I reassured her we could make a positive change in our relationship if we stuck with it, but she was emphatic that she didn't think she could do it. Later that day while we were at work, she and I worked together, we got on the subject of the recent physical dysfunction in our relationship. She referenced a discussion she and I had the other day about how her behavior towards me during and after bonding. She often gets angry with me for not doing something right, or she gets upset and cries during or after bonding, has caused me to be anxious about sleeping with her, and then how this anxiety is causing me to have physical dysfunction of my own. She asked me what she could do about that, and I told her that I want to talk to her about it, but work was not the time or place to do so. So, we tabled the discussion until later that evening. That evening after the children went to bed, we were in our room and she brought up the topic again. She told me that she would like to talk to me about why she didn't feel like she could go back to marriage counseling, and why she felt like she couldn't change. She then proceeded to tell me that for the 2.5 years she and I have been together, that she has been faking enjoying bonding. She said that her traumatic childhood experiences, she was ex-abused by a family member, as well as family friends I have recently found out, have caused her to tune out and not be present during bonding. She says to survive the experience, she has to go someplace else mentally and play a part while she is having fun, so I will think she is enjoying it. I have known about the ex-abuse, but she has always reassured me that bonding between us is her safe place and that she loves the closeness that it brings for us. Now she is telling me that none of that was true and that she has been acting the entire time. She then told me that she was so worried that I would bring up bonding in our counseling session, that she was almost paralyzed during the session. She told me she didn't want me to bring it up at all, and that she wouldn't be able to talk about it if I did, and that she would just deny it. She said this was the reason she didn't think she could change and didn't think she could go through with our counseling. After she told me this, I didn't know what to say, but I wanted to be caring and empathetic to her feelings and what she is going through. I told her that I would not bring it up and that she could bring it up in our sessions when she felt comfortable, although this is going to be difficult because a lot of our recent issues have been related to bonding. She said that she has been going to a counselor since she was a child, and she has never talked about it. This was a big surprise to me. She has always told me that she dealt with these issues in her adolescent and teenage years with her counselors. Now she is telling me she didn't actually talk about this with them, and that she doesn't with her current counselor. I don't really know what to believe now. At that point I was thinking to myself that she has been untruthful with me these past several years on several key topics. Despite that, I tried to be empathetic and told her that we could work through all of this with our current counselor, and in her own time. She reiterated that she wouldn't talk about it, and that she couldn't change. She then asked me, "And do you really want to be with someone that is not present with you when you are sleeping with them?" I told her that I loved her and that we could work through all of that. She got more upset at that and said she was done with the conversation. Not wanting to push her, I left it at that and we moved on to another subject. My mind is going to several places at once. I am empathetic to her pain and know she needs my support, which I fully intend to give. However, this makes me even more anxious about sleeping with her because now I know she actually doesn't like it and it causes her great emotional stress. She tells me she wants to be close to me and needs that intimacy, but once she is in the act of bonding, she has to switch her mind off. This is the reason she has become increasingly more and more combative with me during and after bonding. She has told me in the past that she wants me to be rough with her during bonding and throw her around a little. Last night she told me that she wants that because that is how she learned bonding was when she was a child, by her abusers. How can I do this with her when I now know that I am playing the part of her past abusers? Another thought in my head was when she asked me why I would want to be with someone who isn't present during bonding was that she is trying to push me away. I am not sure where to go from here. She has been in individual counseling since she was a young girl, maybe 25 years now. She has been seeing the same counselor for the past 6 or 7 years. I am trying not to take it personally as I know this isn't about me. It does hurt and that I wish she had just been truthful with me so that we could have been working on this already. I also have to wonder what part I have played in not making her feel safe enough to feel she could talk to me about this earlier. What I don't understand is that our physical life had been great until we got married in September 2015, or sometime around that time. I would have never thought she would ever tell me she didn't enjoy it and has to go someplace else in her head. Either she has been doing a great job of faking, I am completely clueless, or some combination of both. This is where I am stuck. I am in a catch-22. I know I need to show her I can be her safe place, but now I worry I cannot even perform, and now I'm even more anxious about trying to sleep with her. If I cannot perform, she gets very defensive and says, "What's wrong? Do you not find me attractive anymore?" It's a vicious cycle. And yes, her not wanting to be with me or sleeping with me anymore definitely crossed my mind. As I mentioned in my first post, my gut reaction is that she is actively trying to push me away. I believe this is a fear, defensive reaction though, as it is easier and safer for her just to not be with anyone when things begin to get difficult. She is an attractive woman. This is definitely not the problem, and I tell her this all the time. In my texts to her, I call her beautiful, as in, hey beautiful, wanna go for lunch today? Something has changed. It was almost like a light switch. I am hoping we can get to the bottom of it in our marriage counseling. From what I understood last night, she hasn't spoken about it with any of her counselors, let alone the one she's been seeing the past 6 or 7 years. This is contrary to what she's told me in the past. So now I am thoroughly confused as to what to believe. I have known about her abuse from very early on in our relationship, and she made it clear to me early that I should not take it personally, her inability to orgasm, and that I cannot pressure her to have one because that only exacerbates the problem. In the past, we have always focused on having fun, being close to each other, and not made a big deal of her having a good time. I didn't want to put any pressure on her about it whatsoever. With that said, given what she told me last night, there is obviously some reason she hasn't and doesn't feel I am safe. I am obviously missing something and will have to do quite a bit of introspection in the coming days and weeks. I will also ask her if I have done anything that doesn't make her feel safe with me. What I find difficult to reconcile in my head, she isn't actively denying me bonding. She continually states that she wants and needs bonding with me, and that she is unhappy that we aren't having it as frequently as we once did. On the other hand, she has now told me that she doesn't enjoy bonding and that she has to go someplace else mentally, and this is the reason she's been acting the way she has during bonding the last several months. This in turn makes me anxious about sleeping with her, and not want to sleep with her because I know she isn't into it. So, she is indirectly reducing the bonding that we have and that she says she wants. My wife said this almost verbatim last night. She said she has been acting the way she thought she was supposed to be acting. That was where the playing a part statement came from. You are also right. I think after she and I got married, she felt some sense of relief in that she didn't have to continue playing that part because she had me locked down. Now she is finding it exhausting trying to keep up that facade, and it has finally broken. When we have touched on this subject in the past, she has said she didn't want to bruise my ego or hurt my feelings. These previous conversations were in very different context and under very different circumstances, so I need to ask her again. She has been refusing to attend MC with me for over a year. Because of her refusal, I asked her to at least allow me to attend some of her IC. She flat out refuses. She will not let me do this. She says that is for her, and not for anyone else. I finally talked her into seeing a marriage counselor with me, as you see in my first post, which now she is pushing back on. I am fully empathetic to her pain and what she is going through, and I want to act in a compassionate manner. However, there are others with good advice that have stated she has to be willing to work on this so that she and I can have the relationship I want and she says she wants. I am an optimist and believe she and I can work through this. I am trying to understand the best way to do that without getting taken advantage of and being a doormat. Tonight, she and I continued our discussion from last night and I was able to get clarification on several issues. I asked her if I heard her correctly and that she has never discussed her past ex-abuse with any of her counselors. She said no, she has not. She said that her current counselor tried to bring up the topic of bonding once, and that she, my wife, walked out of the session. When she returned, she said she instructed her counselor never to speak of it again or she would quit her counseling sessions. I asked her if there was anything I had done to make her not feel safe with me. She said no, it wasn't about me. She said this is all about her past. I asked her if she could clarify what she meant by not being present and playing a part. She repeated exactly what she said last night. She said that as we are having fun, she is being what she thinks I want her to be based on how she thinks someone would react to the situation. She said she doesn't really know any other way to be and that she has been like this all of her life. She told me tonight that she sees herself as an object to be used for a man's pleasure and that is her only worth, and that when we are bonding, she is just a tool for me. I asked her if I had ever done anything to make her feel this way, and she said that it wasn't me. It was what she learned from her abuse and she doesn't know how to feel any other way about it. I hadn't heard this one from her before and it hit me kind of hard. We sat there for a few seconds, as I didn't really know what to say to the last comment, so she broke the silence by telling me that she is just going to stop telling me how she feels because she just gets punished for it. I told her I wasn't punishing her, I was just trying to process what she had just said. She said that because now I don't want to sleep with her, I am punishing her. I told her that I never said I didn't want to, but that it is very difficult for me to get excited about sleeping with her after hearing the things I've heard in the last few days, and especially after hearing her tell me she feels like I am just using her as an object. She then told me I was blowing things out of proportion. We had to end the discussion there because my son knocked on our bedroom door because we were supposed to be getting ready to go to dinner and she and I were taking too long. That's the update from tonight. We genuinely have our good days together. The problem is that her mood and temperament can switch in the blink of an eye and an entire weekend will be gone. I always feel guilty feeling this way, but our good days are outnumbered by our mediocre and bad days. I will see flashes of love and affection and empathy and sincerity from her, but they are gone as quickly as they came. I believe I have written here in another thread about the push-pull of being in a relationship with her. The constant roller coaster, I hate you, I love you, is extremely exhausting. At least if she were all I hate you, I could have something definitive to work with. The problem is that she will be loving and caring and sometimes the sweetest person in the world, and it draws me back in and I say to myself, this isn't so bad. What was I thinking the other day? Then the next thing I know, she perceived a tone in my voice and she is telling me how much she hates life with me and that our marriage was a mistake. I am stuck. She says she will absolutely not talk with a therapist about it. I believe it when she says she hasn't spoken with her current therapist about it because I've wondered the same thing, and she's given me little hints here and there that this topic has never been broached. She is already hesitant about going back to the counselor we have just started seeing, but I feel like it is a topic I need to bring up so that we can work through this. Should I wait until she brings it up when she feels ready? Should I bring up all of this with our current marriage counselor the next time I see him, even though she will see it as a betrayal of trust and will likely deny it and not go back again? I didn't tell her I will not sleep with her anymore. Actually, I told her the opposite last night. But I am worried about her not enjoying it, wanting to be somewhere else, not wanting to be with me, feeling like I am using her as an object, etc. The other part of the problem now is that she has become so unpredictable during and after bonding. I am now worried what I am going to get. Is she going to be happy with my performance? Or is she going to perceive some wrongdoing during and start a huge argument afterwards? These are now regular occurrences and I'm sorry, but it makes performance anxiety a real issue. She says her ex-husband was diagnosed with NPD by her current therapist when they were going to MC together. Now, I don't know him well enough to say whether this is or is not true, but one thing I realized early on is that my wife exhibits most of the traits that she complains about in him. I started doing research on NPD to better understand what she was going through with him, and I noticed many of the traits on the list apply to her. This research led me to BPD, which is almost like reading a recipe for my wife's daily behavior. Rewriting history, she loves to do this. It has gotten to the point where I am beginning to question my own sanity and my own recollection of events. I am also at the point in which I am having difficulty distinguishing whether I am in the right or in the wrong when she is telling me my behavior is out of line. This is one of the reasons I began posting here. All I was hearing was that the problems in our relationship were my fault, and I could not trust my own judgment anymore whether this is the case. When they all talk about her brother, it is as if nothing happened. One thing I find very odd is that when my wife talks to her brother on the phone, she ends the call with the typical, "Love you." I have asked her how she can say those words to someone that abused her. If it were me, I wouldn't even be talking to that person on the phone. Today is Valentine's Day, so last night we went to a nice restaurant. I got her flowers this morning, breakfast, etc. Everything seems to be good. She is upstairs doing her thing for a minute and I am downstairs playing with the kids and the cat. I make this god-awful cat noise imitating how our cat sounds sometimes. We often make fun of our cat because of the wailing he does through the house. A few minutes later, she comes down the steps and says, "Were you making fun of me?" Not even connecting the two things together, me making the cat sound and her thinking I am making fun of her. I tell her I'm not following what she's saying. She says, "The noise you were making. Why were you making fun of me?" I told her I was not making fun of her and I'm not sure why she would immediately think I was making fun of her when I was playing with the cat like we always do. She said that was the only thing she could think of, that I was making fun of her, and that she didn't appreciate it. Clearly the expression on my face told her I was puzzled and slightly annoyed, so she said, "What? Are you mad at me now?" I said, "No, I wasn't mad." She said, "What then?" Annoyed. Remembering what I read from my books recently, I decided to answer honestly and told her I was slightly annoyed that she would automatically think I was making fun of her, and then approach me in an accusatory way instead of calmly and in a non-accusatory way. She rolled her eyes and stomped off saying, "Great. This is how I get to spend my Valentine's Day." She then went upstairs and locked herself in her room. I felt like I was just involved in a hit and run. This is not a new feeling with her though, like what the hell just happened. I am not even close to considering divorce at this time. I need to go through the counseling process for myself and with her in MC. As I've mentioned, I love my wife and want us to work out, and I have to do everything I can so that if our marriage doesn't work out, at least I know I tried. I am trying to be as strong as I can. That's why I am here, to learn how to walk the fine line between being strong for her and being her doormat. She and I talked about the incident this morning. During that talk, she asked me what I want out of her. I took this as an opportunity to tell her I needed her to get help for the subject she and I have been discussing the last few days, the ex-abuse, how it is affecting our marriage and physical life now, and how she feels about bonding in general. She asked me why I was making this about her, and that she was tired of me projecting my problems on her and making this about her. She said this has never been an issue between us before, so why is it now? I told her I didn't know she had been faking and dissociating and playing a part during bonding until a few nights ago, and we are operating under a whole new paradigm now. She said she absolutely will not talk with anyone about what happened. I said, "You asked me what I need you to do, and that is my answer. I want you to get help for you and for us." She said she isn't going to do it, and if I am going to try to talk to our current marriage counselor about it, she will not go back. She then backtracked and said, "Actually, I am just not going back, and if those are your terms, then I will just end this marriage." She then called me a selfish jerk for making this about bonding and wanting her to talk about this with a counselor. She asked me why I am making this about bonding. I told her that bonding is a big part of a marriage, and we cannot have a healthy marriage without bonding. She said that I could just continue sleeping with her like I had been before she told me. I told her that it is difficult for me to sleep with her knowing that she doesn't want to, that it doesn't feel safe, and that she has to go someplace else in her mind when we are sleeping together. I asked her if I am just supposed to keep sleeping with her knowing how she feels now, and she responded, "Yep, that is status quo for me, so that's what has to happen." Meaning, I need to sleep with her knowing that she isn't into it and would rather be somewhere else. She said that this is her problem, not mine. I told her that it was both of our problem and that I want us both to work through it. She continued to call me a selfish a-hole and that she will just refuse to talk to me about any of this anymore because I punish her when she tells me about how she feels. She said once the kids are out of school in May, she is going to move out. I think she is just lashing out and don't believe she will, but I do believe her when she says she will not talk about this with a counselor, and if I try to talk about it, she will not go. More discussion today. I'll keep this short as I'm sure everyone is tired of seeing the continual play-by-play of our discussions. She said she had not told me about any of this until after she and I got married because she was afraid I would leave her. She told me that she actually has been trying to push me away, and the feeling has gotten much stronger since she and I got married. She said she cannot handle being close to someone, that it makes her scared and uncomfortable. She started telling me how she was not going to change for me, and that she wasn't going to be this person I could mold into who I wanted. She said I would be better off finding someone else than trying to change her. She said she is tired of pretending and keeping up the facade. She then walked over to me and handed me her wedding ring and told me to go find someone else to mold into the person I want. I have come to this realization now. I can either stay and hope she deals with the problem eventually, and in her time, or I can leave. She just asked me if I am cheating on her. Keep in mind, I haven't been with anyone else since she and I have been together. My phone is never locked and I do not keep it attached to my hip at all times. She has all of my passwords and access to my computer, email, etc. Yet she has a fingerprint lock and passcode on her phone, asks waitresses if we can have that cute waiter over there instead. Is very secretive about where she is, her passwords on her computer. Earlier today she told me she would never be able to trust anyone fully. I see she meant that. My wife says she has PTSD. She says it was diagnosed in her counseling sessions. Now is it really PTSD or BPD? I am obviously not qualified to diagnose either way. There is the flip side, when she is the other person, the person I fell in love with before we got married. She has a quick wit and amazing mind for business, strategy. She and I share many common interests that are rare in other women. In social situations, she's great. The bonding we had was phenomenal, although I now know that isn't true. I know that I have issues that stem from my childhood, and plan on getting help for those. I know she isn't the only one with problems. From my time here, I know I have problems setting healthy boundaries, codependency issues, as well as many more several here could tell me about just by reading my posts. This is partially why I want to be empathetic and compassionate with her. I am not perfect and certainly have my issues, and I want someone to understand and love me for me. I need a plan of action now. I do not want to just continue complaining and doing nothing. I am ready to move forward. Here's where I am. Continue to be compassionate to her feelings and past experience. She and I continue MC. I will get IC to deal with my issues and to help navigate through the next stage in this process. Put bonding on the back burner for a while. Have her remove the passcode from her phone. Attend 1 or 2 of her IC sessions. Have her bring up this topic in our MC when she is ready. Do I set a timeline for this? What am I missing from the action list? Is it appropriate to set up a timeline for the entire process? For example, for me to say I need to see significant progress by February 2017 or I will have to leave the marriage. I accepted her ring last night and told her I was calling her bluff. After much more discussion, she agreed to counseling and whatever she had to do to work through this. I gave her ring back but made it clear that I would need to go to a few of her counseling sessions, and she would have to do what she needs to do to deal with her issues. I told her I would be doing the same on my end. I let her know that if she doesn't, I will not reconsider next time. As I've mentioned, I've heard this from her so many times now, I don't think it will stick this time either, so I am watching closely and I am mentally prepared to walk away if I have to. I have already been making moves to put myself in a better position just in case I need to leave her. I have paid down all of my debt and began saving up money. Financially, I could leave anytime and be okay. I'll give this 3 months to see how it plays out. At the end, I will reevaluate where we are. If we are making progress, I'll give it 3 more months. If not, I'll cut my losses. Another problem in this situation is that she and I work together. I will need to come up with a plan on how to resolve this, should I find it necessary to leave the marriage. I am an executive at a well-established company and I have been here quite a few years. I am in line for the CEO position. She is a salesperson and does not report directly to me. I would not want to leave here unless she just refused to. Had a 5-hour discussion with my wife last night. Well, I think it would be better categorized as us having a 5-minute discussion followed by 4 hours and 55 minutes of her swearing, yelling, and calling me names. I wrote most of what follows last night so my memory of the events was still fresh. This one is long, so you might want to grab a cup of coffee and a seat. I apologize in advance for the length. Everything started out okay. During the day we had been talking about how we were ready to do what we needed to do to have a successful marriage and a healthy relationship. So we started our conversation there, talking about how we know the process is going to be long and difficult, but reassuring each other that we were committed. She asked me what the process looked like from my perspective and what I needed from her. I told her that for me to be able to stay in the marriage, she would have to find a counselor that specializes in CSA. I told her that I would be there with her every step and that I would be going to my own counseling for my childhood abuse. This is where it turned bad. She said I didn't know what I was asking of her. She called me a selfish bee and said I was using her marriage against her. She said I was forcing her to do something and using our marriage to control her. I told her I wasn't giving her an ultimatum or forcing her. She said, yes, you are. You are leaving me no choice but to live by your rules or you will divorce me. I told her I was not telling her what she had to do, but I am telling her what I need to stay in this marriage. She said that is an ultimatum. I said it is a boundary. She said I could take my boundaries and books and shove them up my ass. She said she would not allow me to give her an ultimatum and would not allow me to control her. She said I was using what she told me the other day when she opened up against her. She said I was being cruel and she didn't deserve this. By this point she was yelling and swearing at me, calling me a selfish a-hole, saying I am despicable for doing this to her. I had to ask her to calm down several times so that we could have a discussion, and that her yelling and swearing at me was not us having a discussion. She said I was treating her like a child. She said she couldn't believe I was destroying our marriage and treating her this way over bonding, and that I was severely overreacting. She reiterated that she could never trust me again and that I have ruined our relationship by giving her a bullcrap ultimatum. She said that she would never open up to me again because she gets punished. She said I am just like all the other men, especially her ex-husband. She said I was using her vulnerability to control her and make her do what I want. Said I was doing this out of selfishness and my ridiculous need for bonding, and not from a place of love and compassion. She said that no person who supposedly loved someone would ask such a thing of them. She said she wouldn't go to counseling on my terms. I told her I wasn't giving her terms, that I was only telling her what I needed to stay in this relationship. She said she hoped I realize how dangerous this path was that I am leading them down. She said I was not going to tell her how long she had to go. She asked me if I'd even know what her getting better would look like. She asked me how I would know when she was healthy and ready to stop going. She said she was going to have to live day to day in fear that her recovery wasn't good enough for me and that I would be gone when she came home. She asked me when I became such an expert on CSA to feel qualified to tell her she needs to get help. She said her ex-abuse wasn't the reason for any of her problems and that I would be wasting our time and money with my bullcrap ultimatums. Said the real issue here is the abuse she suffered from her ex-husband. She said unequivocally I could not go with her and that time was for her and no counselor would allow me to go anyway. She told me insisting on going is just another way I am trying to control her. She said if I did go, she wouldn't be able to open up to the counselor, so it would be a waste of time, and the only reason I want to go is so I can take notes and make sure she's on task and not faking a recovery. She said I don't know anything about CSA and I have no right to be issuing ultimatums after reading a few books. I told her this is not about my expertise on CSA. It is about her behavior towards me and that I am no longer willing to accept the way she treats me and that seeing the counselor about the CSA is the first step. She reiterated that the ex-abuse has nothing to do with this and that it actually plays little to no part in our relationship at all. Of course, I argued that she said otherwise the previous 4 or 5 days, and that she even admitted that she couldn't trust anyone because of her ex-abuse, and that trust was one of the main factors in a relationship. She admitted again that she couldn't trust because of what happened, but that was the only way what happened affects us. My comment, this is getting messier as the relationship develops. Is she really having an affair? Or is it something more? Subscribe and hit that bell and part 2 ending will come straight your way.